أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا سهلا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم إلى نور الفهم، وأكرمنا بمعرفة العلم، وزين أخلاقنا بالحلم يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم بارك لنا في أعمالنا وأعمالنا وارزاقنا وأهلنا وذوينا وأحبابنا، واجعل لنا من كل ضيق مخرجا ومن كل هم فرجا، واجعل لنا من بعد العسر يسرا. يا ربنا بارك لنا في شعبان وبلغنا، يا ربنا بارك لنا في شعبان وبلغنا رمضان. اللهم أعنا على القيام بحقه يا رب العالمين. اللهم جئناك تائبين فلا تردنا خائبين. يا ربنا جئناك بذنوبنا وبتقصيرنا وبضعفنا. يا ربنا أصلحنا، يا ربنا أصلحنا. اللهم اجعل رمضان شهرا مباركا لأمة حبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. حقق به أماننا وأصلح به أحوالنا واغفر به ذنوبنا. اللهم يا ربنا اجمعنا في شهر رمضان على طاعتك وعلى محبة نبيك، واجعلنا من عتقائك من النار. اللهم اجعله شهر نصر لأمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم اجعله شهر نصر وتمكين، ولي أمورنا خيارنا ولا تولي أمورنا شرارنا، ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا من لا يخافك ولا يرحمنا، ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا. اللهم إنا نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى وصفاتك العليا أن تفك كروبنا، فك عنا وعن إخواننا المستضعفين في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها كروبهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم يسر أمور إخواننا في غزة وفلسطين وفي سوريا وفي لبنان وفي اليمن وفي السودان وفي العراق وفي سائر بلاد المسلمين. أنت أعلم بهم منا، كلهم ناصرا ومعينا ومؤيدا وظهيرا. Allah, we call upon you, pray to you, beseech you. We ask you by your names and attributes to make us of those who earnestly prepare for Ramadan. Ya Allah, make us of those who show reverence to your sacred month. Bless this month of Sha'ban for us. Ya Allah, make it a month of cleansing and a month of forgiveness and acceptance and guidance. Make us of those who water the seeds of our hearts in this month and find a great harvest in the blessed month of Ramadan. Ya Allah, make it a month of goodness for us and our families and our community and our ummah. Ya Allah, make it a beautiful month that wipes away all the toxicity, all the wrongdoing, everything that displeases you in our personal lives and in our community and our ummah. Ya Allah, make it a month of great victory for our nufus against the shaitan, and great victory for the ummah against its detractors and its oppressors. Ya Allah, give charge of our affairs to the best of us, not the worst of us. Make the best of our days the last of our days, and the best of all days we meet you and you're pleased with us, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ameen, ameen. Jazakumullah khair for attending today in this first Friday in Sha'ban. May Allah bless this month for us. Brothers and sisters, at least for me, it's the first time we're directly talking about Ramadan. And that gives you the feeling that we're at its doorsteps. Khalas, we're at Ramadan's doorsteps. Nothing between us and the blessed month, but less than 30 days. So inshallah, we'll have a conversation about that. Before we actually begin, I'm honored and blessed to have my dear brother, Akhi Adam, with me here. To start us off with some announcements and some important things to be mindful of for this conversation and for the things that are happening in the masjid, inshallah.
Inshallah, Shaykh. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all here. Just a few reminders and announcements. As always, we have refreshments on both sides for the men and women. If you have any, you need to have a conversation, just try and keep it outside the main musalla so that everybody can focus on the lecture, inshallah, and the questions that will be answered. Now, regarding upcoming events, I just have two that I want to bring up. Actually, a halaqah that goes on here every Monday after Isha prayer in icpc-Clifton. It's called Baraka Circle with Dr. Marwa from the Home Institute. Inshallah, the theme there is psycho-spiritual lessons taught through an Islamic psychological lens. Highly beneficial, something that you can really reflect on. Additionally, specifically for the sisters, right? Oh yes, it's for both brothers and sisters. So inshallah, if you feel like you can benefit, especially going into Ramadan, which is the whole topic today, I would take advantage of it from now. Now, for the girls, actually, the youth and the girls' juniors, they'll be hosting a World Hijab Day tomorrow at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So for the girls here, or brothers, you can encourage if you have younger sisters, or in the case of the women, younger sisters, siblings. I would highly encourage, maybe bring them, encourage them to attend, inshallah. And then beyond that, for Ramadan, it takes a lot of work, especially with the volunteers. Volunteers are definitely needed. And on the email chain, you can find, for ICPC, you can find a form. If you have time this Ramadan, please fill it out. The work is highly beneficial. Inshallah, we all benefit. In addition, the masjid is looking for donations of certain items, which you can also find on the email chain. Things like water, dates, supplies, just to support the general influx of people in the masjid during Ramadan, inshallah. And with that, I pass it off to you, Shaykh.
Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feek, akhi Adam. Bismillah. How many of you guys feel Ramadan around the corner? Do you guys start feeling its presence yet? You guys feel it? Anyone feel it? All right, what makes you feel it? What makes you feel Ramadan is so close? Besides it being 30 days away. What makes you feel it? What makes someone feel Ramadan is an arm's length away? It's like you could almost smell it. What makes you feel it like that? Right? I'm not trying to be philosophical here, by the way, guys. What makes you feel Ramadan is so close? What makes it feel so real? You know what it is? I need to start talking about it. This is the first of many conversations that we're going to have preparing for Ramadan. The only way I could start preparing myself with the Ramadan mindset, if someone could please close those doors over there. That's part of getting into the Ramadan mindset. The noise, extra noise, and noise here, noise there. You always have to have a little bit of noise in Ramadan, right? It gives the barakah of the feel. So, I'm just joking. But in order for me to start feeling it, guys, I need to talk about it. You know how they say out of sight, out of mind? Is that how they say it? Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind, right? If I'm not engaging it, it's as though it doesn't exist. So, for me, when I read the Quran, every page of the Quran forces me to engage what? What does it force me to engage? For this point here, reflect with me. Huh? Specifically, no, something specific. Something that I can't see right now, but Allah wants me to function as though I could see it. What does every page in the Quran force me to engage? Huh? No. Of course I can't. But it's a message from Allah. There's a vivid painting of something that we're not there yet. Matters of the unseen. None of us saw Jannah, none of us saw Nar. You know how I would be if I was someone who did not think of Jannah, did not think of hellfire, did not have an image, a detailed image, as though I could see Jannah or not. You know how I would function? I would function as the ayah describes. كَلَّا بَلْ تُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةَ وَتَذَرُونَ الْآخِرَةَ. You love the immediate, you delay the akhirah. Why? Why would any human being do that? Why? Because out of sight, out of mind. I'm not thinking about Jannah. Why would I want it so bad? I'm not worried about entering hellfire. Why would I be so scared of it? Right? I'm not going to think of these things. Right? If I don't read the Quran and engage these matters of the unseen, they will quickly be forgotten. That's the message here. If I'm someone who's not preparing ahead of it, and that's why our Salaf did this, We're in Sha'ban, and Sha'ban is significance in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. A top reason why Sha'ban is so important is because of Ramadan. A top reason why Rajab is of course one of the sacred months, but what makes it have added importance is because of its proximity to Ramadan. Our Salaf used to say this. They used to make this dua. Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. This is from the ma'thur dua that our righteous predecessors used to say. It's not a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ per se. Our righteous predecessors used to say this. They would say, "Oh Allah, bless for us Rajab, bless for us Sha'ban, and allow us to witness Ramadan." Right? Ramadan is that special. You guys think of this? We're blessed as an ummah with Ramadan being 30 days, not one. We talked about this earlier in the khutbah today. Imagine if we had this, shallow semblance of a practice when it comes to Ramadan, just one night in the year, just one day in the year, and all you have to do on that day is avoid the food that you love most, right? You like chocolate a lot, don't eat chocolate. I'm not trying to take jabs at other religions, but if you know about other religions, you know what I'm talking about. Islam doesn't teach us to be shallow people. Why is Ramadan 30 days? Because this is about real change. It's not about chocolate, right? You like chocolate, avoid chocolate for a day and you're going to become a great person? That's fake. Islam doesn't teach me to be a person of empty rituals, right? Islam doesn't teach me to be empty in my ritualism. No, Islam wants me to be very real, right? That's why our righteous predecessors, they would continuously make dua after Ramadan. Oh Allah, accept from us Ramadan. They would do this, as they say, 6 months after the year. And what would they do for the remaining 6 months? The remaining 6 months, they'd say, "Oh Allah, allow us to live to see Ramadan." And then when Rajab would come in, they said, this is where the real preparation comes now. Now it's not just a dua anymore. Rajab, they say that's where you plant the seeds, right? And then Sha'ban is the month where you water the seeds. And Ramadan is the month of the harvest. If you wait till Ramadan day one, guess what? You're not going to have anything to harvest. You're not going to have anything to harvest. And wallahi, this is so true. And when I prepare for worship like this, guys, when I prepare for worship like this, I'll have a lot of reverence and respect and regard for the matters of my deen. If Ramadan is so important that I start thinking about it 2 months ahead of time, I plan for Ramadan, like imagine this, like what's a hard test that people take? Like a really hard test, later on, like when they're in college. What's the hardest test you could possibly imagine? What is it?
MCATs, LSAT.
LSATs. Who takes the LSATs?
Lawyers.
MCATs, that's for doctors, right? Are there any other cats? Is there any other big tests?
That's a great question. I'll field it to the crowd.
Any other really hard tests besides lawyers and doctors? SATs, those are hard? Ya Allah, alhamdulillah. So imagine if you're talking about a really hard test, and this person, does nothing to prepare. Literally, the night before, he opens up this 1,000-page book and skims through a few sections. Maybe they'll ask about this. I'm going to skip a few hundred pages ahead. All right, I'm going to remember this one and that one and the third one. And then he walks into the test. You think the guy's going to become a lawyer? You think he's going to become a doctor? I hope not. I really hope he doesn't become a doctor. He's going to, But anyway, the point is, I need to plan for Ramadan like people plan for their careers. I'm not even joking here. I'm not joking, right? It's all about what people choose to prioritize. If my soul matters so much that it affects the depth of my emotions, it affects everything about me. Well, you think, it affects every part of my life. It doesn't not deserve that attention. Look, there are people who are doctors, who are lawyers, who are politicians, who are bigger or smaller or whatever you want to name. There are people with all of the accolades and titles that you could imagine. But because they haven't focused enough on what's here, what happens? They feel empty. They feel depressed. They have suicidal thoughts. They have, catastrophic errors in their life decisions. Why does that come about? Because I have not endeavored investing. And that's not to say that feeling depression or having suicidal thoughts means you're an awful human being. It doesn't. No. It means that there are certain aspects of your being that you need addressed. And you should not bury those. Islam doesn't teach us to bury emotions. Islam teaches us to feel emotions through worship. Wallah, it's a beautiful thing. Wallahi, it's a beautiful thing. Ramadan, by the way, There are some people when Sha'ban comes in, say, oh man, I got a month left for my coffee, and then I'm going to miss out. And then, oh man, it's going to be my schedule's going to change. And then, I need to send out all the warnings to work. And hey, by the way, guys, I'm going to be extremely low energy. You can't ask me a lot of tasks because I have to do this fast, man, for 30 days. It's just going to knock me out. And then you have the Sahaba on the other end. What did they do? The early generations, Ramadan comes, they have this much energy. You multiply it by 10, 20, or 30. They go spread Islam far and wide. Ramadan doesn't make me lazier. It makes me stronger. It makes me more capable. It's all a matter of perspective, right? If I'm dreading the missing out on the coffee and the missing out on the food and missing out on the routine, then I missed out. I'm not tasting Ramadan. But guess what? Every Muslim, guys, I want to ask you a real question. Don't feel shy to not raise your hand. But you guys been through a bunch of Ramadans. When Ramadan is at the last 10, for example, by the time after you worked through all the kinks of the headaches and the exhaustion and you got into a rhythm, when Ramadan's at the last 10, don't you guys feel a certain sweetness in your life, a certain lightness, a certain clarity that you don't feel in the other 11 months? If you agree with me, raise your hand. If I could raise 10 hands, I would. Everyone's raising their hands. Well, everyone's raising. Everyone, the young, mashallah, how old are you, Habibi? 9, mashallah. The youngest one among us also feels the same way. And that's what we tell the world, guys. At school sometimes they feel pity. Oh my goodness, he's so young. He's 7 years old, 8 years old. He's not going to drink water. We feel so bad for him, right? And they don't realize that this is what we live for, right? This is what we live for. Ramadan is the most beautiful thing. It's like I've been asleep the other 11 months and then I get a breath of fresh air. Why? Because I suppress material things and my soul is allowed to breathe and I can see things for what they are. And then I wish Ramadan could be all year round. But we know that's not the case. So then we feel like that in the last 10. And then Eid comes and the believer feels a sense of happiness, right? Because of the fun. But a sense of sadness too, that everyone feels it every year, right? You felt that before? You're with me, right? You felt it before? Felt a little sadness that Ramadan's going to go by? Yeah, we do it every year. SubhanAllah, it's a cycle, guys. But hey, look, there's a lot of things I need to think about right now. A lot of things I need to think about right now and prepare myself for. Feel free. I went on a long rant, Akhi Adam, to share. I really want to put some thought into this, right? I have 30 days. We have different lives, right? My life has, my routine and schedule as an imam is different than someone who's a business owner. And a business owner is different than someone else who's a doctor or someone who's always on calls. There's someone else who has to work 60, 70 hours a week, right? We have different unique, or someone else who's in college, or are there any big tests in Ramadan this year for college goers? How many of you guys are college goers here, Aslan? People in college, raise your hand. Not many, all right. Is there big tests in colleges in Ramadan this year? It's earlier. Okay, alhamdulillah. So you don't have to worry about that. But again, what schedule should I prepare myself for? What habits should I incorporate? How can I start removing the rust? Because, by the way, I know I'm rusty. I don't know about you guys. I'm rust. I'm going into this Ramadan with a mindset. I mentioned this in the khutbah. Everyone knows themselves, right? Since last Ramadan till now, I know I've done tons of things that are all, they're shortcomings. We all have shortcomings. Wallahi, we have the deficiencies. I'm weak. أنا مقبل على الله عز وجل بتقصيري. أنا أدرك ذلك. I know that. And every honest person with himself knows that. I'm going to Allah with a bunch of taqsir. I'm not going to Him, subhanah, on the first day of Ramadan with a sense of greatness and grandeur. Oh, I'm so great. I do so much. And no. I am going with a mindset of realizing how flawed I am. And that's how we unlock greatness as an ummah. We become great because of that. I'm going into this with a detox. Guys, remember this word. I'll pass it over right now to Akhi Adam to get us going with some of the thoughts and questions. But remember this word. Sha'ban, guys, is the month of detox. We need it, spiritual detox. You know what that means? I need to cleanse my system. What's the starting point of getting ready for Ramadan? Well, if you have an awful stench on your body and you want a good one, what's the first step to doing that? Spraying cologne on yourself? No, that won't work. First step is cleaning the filth. I need to detox from conflicts with people, from major sins I'm committing with Allah Azza wa Jal, from toxic habits, from the distractions and the noise that's going on in my life that's not very good, not very healthy. I'm realizing that there's a lot I need to purge from my system right now. And that's how I'll be able to take advantage of Ramadan best. Wallahu a'lam. So these are initial thoughts. That's the framing of this discussion. I need your help because, again, the only way we give context to this conversation, and unfortunately it's not gonna, but is the Slido in the group? The only way we give context and life to this conversation is if you mention real life struggles as we're preparing for Ramadan. How do I know Sha'ban specifically is the month of detox? You know what? Prophet ﷺ said it to us. ذَاكَ شَهْرٌ يَغْفَلُ عَنْهُ النَّاسِ. That is a month that many people are distracted away from. It's between Rajab, which is one of the sacred months, and Ramadan. And then he said something specific about it. He said, تُرْفَعُ فِيهِ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ وَأَنَا أُحِبُّ أَنْ يُرْفَعَ عَمَلِي وَأَنَا صَائِمٌ. So the Prophet ﷺ said, actions are raised to Allah in the blessed month of Sha'ban. What does that mean? It is your what? Annual review. We have a weekly review, right? Every Friday, Thursday, al-a'mal tu'rad ala Allah Azza wa Jal. And then I have an annual review that's coming right before Ramadan starts. And then I have post-Ramadan review, very end of Ramadan. Review by what? This is teaching me to have self-accountability. My actions are going to be presented to Allah in this month. And that's why the Prophet would fast in Sha'ban more than any other month. More than any other month besides Ramadan. He would fast a lot. May Allah enable us. Wallahi, we're weak. Everyone knows themselves. We're weak. I need to better myself. May Allah forgive me. Right? But my actions are going to be presented, everything I did since last Ramadan. And the only thing I could hope to do right now, when my actions are being announced in the high heavens, I just want to be someone who, it's mentioned in there, yeah, he did this and that, and he forgot this and that and the other. But, Ya Allah, he's coming to you with a heart that's full of tawbah. A heart fully seeking your forgiveness. A heart, trying to do better. So, that's the synthesis of this discussion. I don't know if you have anything, Akhi Adam, that you'd like to add to the conversation, comments or questions. Tfaddal.
I do have a comment, and Barakallah Feek, Shaykh, for the beautiful wisdom, as always. I have a favor to ask the crowd in light of the technical difficulties that we're having with the QR code for the slide on the television. If you could all take a moment, get to know the person next to you, ask them if they're in the group chat or if you can send them the link. And if everybody can just take that moment to join in on the Slido and vote up the questions and add some questions. That way we can get the conversation rolling. There's already a few, but I have a feeling we can probably add a lot more. And in addition to that, I'll add, like Shaykh mentioned, we want to, in regards to his metaphor about, sowing the seeds and then harvesting in Ramadan, we also want to pull out the weeds. But inshallah, if there's anything particular that you feel is a struggle for you going into Ramadan, ask the question in the Slido. This is your time, this is your moment, take advantage of it. And with that, Shaykh, while they're all, inshallah, taking a look at the Slido, I'm going to ask the top-rated question off the bat, which is, I'm thinking of reverting to Islam. I'm thinking Ramadan is a good time. How should I go about reverting? Do I have to read the Quran first, pray first?
Okay. Jazakallah khair for your question. First off, if you're in the mosque and you're asking this question, you're absolutely welcome. And we're always delighted to have anyone and everyone who's seeking goodness in their life in the doorsteps of our mosque. So you're absolutely welcome to any event, and we hope to see you throughout this blessed month that's coming. So the question was, I'm thinking Ramadan is a good time. My advice to everyone who's considering making a serious life change, if you've reached the point in your thought process where you think you're ready for the change, then the right time is now to make that change. You know, you guys saw what happened in this past week, right? I'm sure you guys saw it. It's very tragic, the airplane and the helicopter colliding with each other. Yeah, and, it just got me reflecting, it's a very devastating event. Actually, one of our sisters from another state was on that plane, and the imam in her local community was sharing some information about how he did their marriage, and she was only 26 years old. May Allah have mercy on her. Allahumma ameen. But when you see like the moment when they collided, it's really, really like it's a wake-up call. Look, guys, if we could just keep the chatter a little bit down, guys. Jazakumullah khair. It's a really big wake-up call, guys. It happened in a split second. The helicopter could not see the plane, and the plane was literally within the distance of what you could see with your eye from the runway. It was literally almost home. After journeying for the entire flight from where it originated, it was literally in the process of landing. And Allah decreed and Allah willed that all those people left. That's a big wake-up call. If I am ready for a change and I have reached to the point where I'm convinced, the right time is now. And you know what Ramadan will be for you? Ramadan will be your first test grounds with entering this beautiful religion. So that's my advice to the one who asked that question. Same thing with anyone else who's making a real serious life decision. Like if you're someone who's been toying with the thought of becoming consistent in your prayers. We might have someone among us who doesn't pray the 5 daily prayers consistently. And you might be thinking, as I'm saying, well, you know what, I really want Allah in my life and I really want to become consistent with it. And I'm considering making that hijab. Or another sister who maybe perhaps doesn't wear hijab yet and is considering the thought, maybe I want to start wearing hijab. Don't wait to do goodness. Don't wait to go, because you really don't know if you'll have the opportunity. Right now, if you can, and I want you to raise your hand, and I don't want you to think of on a large scale. I want to think in your personal life, someone you know. If you're aware of someone, either directly or in your inner circles, who was with us last Ramadan, who's not going to be with us this Ramadan, raise your hand. Someone, family member, friend, someone you know, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you know somebody in an inner circle, someone, your mother's friend, your father's friend, someone that you know, raise your hand, right? We have a good number of hands that went up, right? I don't know if I'll live to see Ramadan. I shouldn't take it for granted. I remember I was in the Islamic school the past few days. We were reflecting on Isra wal Mi'raj, and I mentioned to them the story of that family that's originally from Michigan, and the wife and I believe either one or two daughters, I'm not sure, 2 daughters, and a son and the brother of the wife were all in a car in Ohio. Tragic accident. They all passed away except the 13-year-old boy. The father was not with them, so he was saved from that. But he was speaking on their grave. He was saying, if you have a loved one, if you have someone you love, take advantage of their presence now, because you don't know. And that's another thing I'm advising. Again, big life change. If you've had this long-standing conflict with someone in your life, you're a mother, father, or a sibling, or someone else, and you're pondering the thought of just letting it go for Allah, and Ramadan is coming, my advice, do that. Do that. Wallahi, you're going to feel so much more comfortable going into this blessed month of Ramadan. You don't want to go into Ramadan having grudges, having a reason, something that's going to stop your prayers from being accepted. You don't want that. Wallahi, it's not worth it. Wallahi, it's not worth it. This is one of the ways that we start for preparing for Ramadan. So anyway, not to digress away from the question, My advice to that part is the sooner the better. My dear brother or sister, whoever it is, that's come to the masjid considering Islam. And the rest of the question was what again? I can't find it.
The rest of the question was, how should I go about reverting? And
how do you go about reverting? Well, we always welcome reverts to our masjid. And we like to get to know them. We have a reverts group that we're developing. We have a bunch of people that have accepted Islam, and they're part of our community. And we usually give a gift of a Quran, a prayer rug, and a hijab if it's a sister, and some books to study about Islam. And all you do is very simply, you could either do it in the office or you could do it publicly, whatever you're comfortable with. You say you believe in the pillars of Islam and you believe in the articles of faith and the Quran and the Prophet as the last prophet. And then you utter what we call the shahada, the testimony of faith. Very simply, it'll take less than a minute. You say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and you become a Muslim. You say, I bear witness and testify that there's no deity worthy of worship except God alone, and Muhammad's his final messenger. And when you say this, we believe that all past wrongdoing is erased and converts to good deeds. That's how you become a Muslim. May Allah bless you in your journey.
Barakallah feek, Shaykh. I have another question here, and it reads as follows. How can I get back into praying and doing more ibadah? My iman has been really low. Any advice? Jazakallah khair.
All right. I want to ask you a question. You asked me a question, or not you specifically, but the collective group. I was asked the question, how can I get back into ibadah? My iman's been a little low. How can I get back into a routine of worship? So the question for you guys, when you guys think about Ramadan, what is one of the most empowering elements in it that keeps everyone going? Wanting to do more worship, wanting to come to the masjid, wanting to, stay awake all night. What is it? The reward. The reward's one thing. Yeah, it's great reward. But there's something more. Right, like for example, outside of Ramadan, there's immense reward of praying Fajr in Jama'ah and Isha in Jama'ah, right? Whoever prays Isha in Jama'ah, it's like he prayed half the night. Whoever does Fajr in Jama'ah, it's like he prayed the whole night. There's a lot of reward also outside of Ramadan. More. I want you to think something more. What's empowering? It gives you strength and you want to do it. Yes, sister? There you go. This is a really big reason. Guys, if I want to get stronger in my worship, I can't work around a reality, and that is I need to be around good people. Where do you find good people? Where do you find good people in this world? You find them in a lot of places, that's true. But if you want to find a good concentration, don't listen to the nonsense that you'll hear from some people. They'll say, oh, don't go to the masjid, they're all a bunch of hypocrites. And don't listen to that. That type of voice is a toxic voice, right? I know it's there. There's a lot of shortcomings everywhere you go. There's shortcomings in the people who are talking in the masjid, like myself, or the people praying in the first row of the masjid. This is all true, yes. However, if you want to find a concentration of good people, come to this place. I guarantee you, if you start coming here regularly and you start seeing your fellow brothers, if you're a brother, your fellow sisters, if you're a sister, you will get stronger in your worship. You'll feel a whole lot better. You'll feel a whole lot stronger, right? But why? How does the shaitan get to people? He isolates them. How does the shaitan ruin people's life? He isolates them from good voices. Good voices. He does everything he could do. And sometimes it happens through conflicts, right? You had a long lifetime friend, right? And because of some petty thing, all of the goodness that was between you guys is lost. Why? Why? Because shaitan got between you guys. Now I lost out on those good reminders and that good support that I would get from that friend that was dear to me. Or a family member, or whoever, whatever it is. The point is, guys here, don't isolate. Don't isolate. Wallahi, we need good voices around us. We need good people in our lives. That's my advice. Number one, for getting better in your ibadah. Be around good people. That'll strengthen you itself. What else?
Okay, Shaykh.
If you guys have comments, by the way,
actually, we'll open up.
Feel
to the
free.
crowd.
Don't worry, guys. We plan to make. No. I'm not going to even joke about this. We're on live stream. Inshallah, guys, we're going into Ramadan, and we know how last Ramadan was. We're going to make Pershing Road and Clifton Avenue, the most peaceful streets in all of Clifton, right? You guys with me? You're with me? The most peaceful, the most beautiful streets. And if you disagree, you're going to have to deal with Dr. Matari, مش كده دكتور? And you're going to have to deal with Radwan, and you don't want that to happen, right? So I'm just joking. Inshallah, it's going to be a beautiful, peaceful, blessed month, and may Allah allow us to enjoy it. Allahumma ameen.
تفضل يا أخي.
Yes, the good question. You want to repeat it?
Yeah, so the brother's question stems around this idea that you start praying, especially when you're in a group, and the concern is people might say, well, you're just doing it for show. You're not actually intending to pray.
All right, so this is a good question, and I respond to it with something that Imam Ghazali said. Imam Ghazali said beautiful words. طلبنا العلم لغير الله فأبى أن يكون إلا لله. Initially, when we sought knowledge, it was for other than Allah Azza wa Jal. But then knowledge refused but to be for Allah. What does that mean? When I first sought knowledge, it was for petty ambitions. Well, maybe it's going to help me get a job. Maybe it's going to help me get ahead and get advanced. I'll make more money. This and that and the other. But knowledge refused but to be for other than Allah. What does that mean? Being someone who engages in this act of worship, it's going to better me, I'm going to, yeah, sure, I'm going to come to the masjid because my friends convinced me. Go to i'tikaf and then afterwards we'll go chill at IHOP. And that sounds like so much fun. Yeah, I'll do that. I want to go chill at IHOP at 3 a.m. because IHOP has the best food in the whole wide world. And you can't get better than IHOP, right? I'm being, anyway. So I go for another reason. But then when I taste the sweetness of what it's like to remember Allah, it'll start cleaning me. So even if it's not for the most genuine reason in the beginning, it's okay. I would rather this person come to the masjid for the wrong reason and end up finding Allah and doing it for the right reason than him staying in their room at home or around ghafla, far away from anything that's good. That's my response to that. It's okay. It's a learning. One of the Salaf, what he says? About the intention. He said, I struggled with my intention for 20 years until I was able to commandeer it and control it. The intent, the heart, why do you think you know the name for heart in Arabic, right? Qalb. Why is it called qalb? لِتَقَلُّبِهِ. Well, it's always changing. It's always changing. I'm always getting, I'm always being distracted by one thing or the other. It's okay. I need to be around good people. And this is even felt by the Sahaba. You guys, who here knows the story of Hamdallah? Raise your hand. Hamdallah. You guys know the story of Hamdallah? You want to say it? Who can say it? What did Hamdallah say to the Prophet? Right? Nafaqa Hamdallah. Right? I'm a munafiq. Why am I a munafiq? He said to the Prophet ﷺ, when I'm with you, it's I'm the best. I remember Allah and I do all the right things. And then when I go back home, I see my bed and my property and my family and then I forget. Nasina kathiran. So the Prophet ﷺ said, oh, alhamdulillah, if you were to stay as good as you were, like you are with me, you would be like an angel. But we're not angels. We're not angels. We need Ramadan to wash away all the toxic gunk that got in our system. You need to remove it. Alhamdulillah for Ramadan. It keeps the fitrah intact. Whenever things get, pile up on our hearts, Ramadan comes, and if I'm blessed enough, I'll be able to feel something really special in the last 10. Overwhelming sense of purity and cleanliness and connection with Allah, and I'll be wanting to pray and pray some more, and it's a beautiful thing. Heart cleanses every single month, every single Ramadan is one of the beautiful things for the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's what I would say to that.
Shaykh, in line with what I mentioned earlier, going into Ramadan and maybe wanting to clean up the weeds, the questioner is asking about music. and they want to better themselves before Ramadan. And basically, they're looking for some advice to kick the habit.
All right, music. Look, there's a lot of bad. I'll incorporate this with a lot of things. There's a lot of habits that ought to be or should be changed from my life and my lifestyle. Some of these things will naturally change with time. Of course, when we say music, it's such a general thing there. I don't want to go into the fiqhi stuff of the details. What kind of music is good, what's not, what's bad, and what's the ruling of Islam on this instrument and that, all the other. Put that aside for a second. What you're bringing forward right now in your question, is a habit that you've identified as having some negative effects on you as a person, right? Sure, if you're listening to music that's all curse words and very toxic stuff, guess what? It's gonna be easy for you to curse, right? If you're tormenting yourself, if you're not a married person and you're tormenting yourself with listening to music that's all about romance and love and mash'arifeh and things that you're not at that stage, you're not at in your life. You're tormenting yourself, right? Yeah, why would you want to put yourself in that type of situation, right? So you've identified a bad habit. There are many other bad habits that you could also include in this list, right? So how do I go about and start changing these things? These are lifestyle changes. Ramadan is the month of lifestyle changes, guys. It gives you an alternative, right? So there's no other month in the year where I could tell you, stop playing this and listen to this, that it would work. But Ramadan, it might work, right? Where you actually would be convinced, what, I want to listen to more Quran. How does that feel like? I want to listen to nasheed in Arabic or in English or in another language. How does that feel? It's so difficult to change habits. It's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. And the only way you could do it is by sustaining an alternative for a long stretch of time. You don't want to be that person who has to have this cognitive dissonance between worshiping Allah and following His desires in Ramadan, right? I was fasting all day and I didn't smoke a single cigarette, right? And then as soon as Maghrib comes in, don't give me water, don't give me dates, give me a cigarette. I don't want to be that person, right? Everyone has their struggle, but I need to set my mind from now. If I have identified this as a toxic habit that doesn't please Allah Azza wa Jal, why don't I try different methods to actually root it out from my life? Don't accept the contradiction. That's what I would say going into this Ramadan. This is good. Hey, look, I'm not going to become perfect this Ramadan. And I should not go into Ramadan thinking I'm going to become perfect. Say if I have 10 toxic habits going into this month, let me identify what's the most destructive among them and figure out how to actually get past this thing. Even if you walk away with, from this Ramadan, one less toxic habit, that's great. I'll tell you, for example, say if someone who has an issue with music, but then has an issue with praying too, what am I going to tell this person to do?
Focus on your prayer.
Figure out your prayer first. It's great to figure out everything, but figure out your prayer first. That's your connection with God. It's a connection with Allah. It's number one. Or you have some other. There was another young man that came to me with a beautiful question. May Allah bless him and increase him and elevate him. Allahumma ameen. The question was, I struggle with watching inappropriate things. And Ramadan's coming up and I don't want to have to be dealing with this. How can I get past it? Right? So again, this is the type of thing that you don't resolve by just raising your hand in dua. This is something that actually needs help. You need assistance with it. You need to carve out a routine for yourself that doesn't give opportunity for this type of destructive thing that could mutilate your fitrah. You need to realize how destructive this force could possibly be. Because you graduate in these levels of mutilation of your divine design. You graduate from one aberrancy to another after that. And it doesn't stop, right? It doesn't stop with the amount of destruction it could cause you, the harm it could cause for you. What you need is to talk to somebody. How do I get past this problem, right? How do I remove toxic alone time as a single young man? How do I fill that with something positive? Our scholars, they teach us, look, if you don't consume yourself with goodness, it's going to consume you with falsehood, right? So that's one of many habits that we could focus on figuring out this blessed month of Ramadan.
Barakallah fi Shaykh. I'm going to throw it to the crowd, see if we have
Any direct
questions.
comments, questions? Go ahead.
Let's see.
Jazakallah khair. Well, the sister, the sister had golden advice. And it's a really important part of preparing for Ramadan. As I'm going into this blessed month, I need to have a sense of urgency, and I also need to be realistic, right? And what does that mean? If I try to do every inkling of goodness, and I go from 0 to 100 in a few seconds, right? I try to act. I'll put it this way: what's a car that has really low horsepower?
Toyota Camry.
What's a car that has really fast horsepower?
Porsche.
Who knows?
Porsche 911.
Porsche 911? 911? Why do they call it 911? All right. I'm sorry, I don't know too much about cars. I just thought the example would sound cool. So, imagine if you're a Toyota Camry and you try to act like a Porsche 911. How's that going to look like, right? So what am I trying to say here? If you're not a Porsche 911 and you're not used to praying 10 hours at night and reading 200 pages of Quran a day, stay a Toyota Camry. The best thing a Toyota Camry could do is be a Toyota Camry, right? Right?
It's reliable.
Huh?
It's reliable.
It's reliable, right? So do what you can. Be realistic going into Ramadan. Have ambitious goals, that's fine. But don't overwhelm yourself. That's why I said even with the toxic habits, if you know that you have a whole lot of issues going on in your life, focus on the most devastating ones. And then branch out from there. If you know that you, outside of Ramadan, have never developed a strong routine in praying the 5 salawat, realize this, as our sister mentioned. What's more rewarding? Isha prayers or Taraweeh prayers? What's more rewarding? Fajr prayers or Taraweeh prayers? Which one? Fajr prayers. Isha prayers. The fard is more rewarding than the sunnah. Absolutely. Right? Engage in taking care of your fard first and foremost. And you know what? Even if, you never know. If my Ramadan is a transformative Ramadan and actually change something in my life, it may end up being greater than another Ramadan experience that was just so exhausting. And by the end, I was like completely depleted. And I just collapsed on the day of Eid. Figuratively, not literally. What does that mean, collapsed? Meaning like I disappear. Like I went from 0 to 100 and then, back to 0 within the span of a very short amount of time, right? That's not very healthy. It's not very good. That's not what Ramadan's supposed to be for me. That's why it's 30 days. That's why, I'm ramping up intensity, right? That's like, where's Brother Nail, right? Brother Nail, you run marathons, right? Right? When you want to train to run for a marathon, when do you start? A week before? 3 months before? Really? Allahu Akbar. There you go. I don't know because I've never tried, but there you go. So 3 months before. There you go. So it's not just with Ramadan. You got to prepare 3 months before. Allahu Akbar. So you see, everything requires a gradual progression and a development. If I care about this, then I'll give this attention. If I don't care about this, then you know what? I'll just make my Ramadan about cookies and qataif. That's it. I'm just waiting for the qataif to come out. And you guys know what qataif are, right? Non-Arabs, you guys know what qataif are? If you're a non-Arab, you guys know what qataif are? Raise your hand if you know what a qataif are, if you're non-Arab. Non-Arab. You know what it is? Right. If you're a non-Arab and you don't know what qataif are, raise your hand. Raise your hand. If you're non-Arab, you don't know what qataif are? Arabs in the audience, if you see any of your fellow brothers and sisters who've never tried qataif, you need to, introduce this marvelous thing to their life, right? So, ask an Arab to get you qataif. That would be a good Ramadan goal. But anyway, going back to this, seriously, don't make your Ramadan about qataif, right? Right?
I want to put it back to the crowd one more time.
Any comments, questions?
Go ahead.
Yes, inshallah. We're going to follow the same system that we've been doing, alhamdulillah, for since this masjid's opened. Alhamdulillah, we're blessed. We have a good lineup of different speakers. We hope to benefit from all of them. Ustad Zaid, even though I didn't ask him yet, but inshallah I know he's going to say yes. Inshallah, and Shaykh Yasser, he's confirmed he's going to be with us. And inshallah other speakers as well, bidhnillah ta'ala. We're going to benefit from Shaykh Tanani, Shaykh Ismail, and others, bidhnillah. May Allah give tawfiq.
Inshallah. I have a question here for you, Shaykh. We just spoke about prayer. And in that same light, I do not feel connected when I pray. It feels like I am going through the motions. How can I change that?
This is, it's an experiential thing, by the way. It's experiential thing. It takes some experience with it. Just as like when you want to go to the gym, you're not going to feel the sweetness in the workout at the gym the first or second or third time you're going. You need to experience this for a stretch of time. And you need to develop a routine with it. The first, second, third, 10th time is all going to be, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? This is so exhausting. My body is aching. I can't function. But then when you develop a rhythm to it and a routine, you start feeling it in a different way. The same thing with everything else in life. Everything else in life needs developing these habits. You just stick with it. My advice, stick with it. Besides sticking with it, learn the meanings behind it. The symbolism in prayer is such a beautiful thing. If you've never tried, guys, if you've never tried this, try this. If you go through tough things in your life, one of our righteous predecessors says, when he would feel overwhelmed, he would go to sujood and he would stay in sujood. And he would not come out of sujood until he feels that feeling of overwhelmingness, the feeling of being overwhelmed is gone, right? Try it. If you've never done sujood for a long time and made dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, prostrating, your face on the ground, the most vulnerable position, I'm telling you, you'll feel something different. If you've been pecking like a crow, then no wonder you don't find khushu'. You guys know what pecking like a crow is? Prophet ﷺ describes someone prays like that. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And there's nothing there. There's no khushu'. But if you try to prolong some of these positions and you pour your heart out to Allah in Arabic and according to many scholars, even in English, you could make dua in sujood. So in sujood, not the other parts of prayer. So in sujood, make it long. And make dua for your health, your wealth, your family, your struggles, your challenges. And I guarantee you're going to find that khushu', that sujood will have a different taste to it after that. Try it. You want to say something, Hajj? Fadal. Fadal. Allah yahfadak. Allah yahfadak. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. I'm going to translate for you guys what Hajj Anis just said. Hajj Anis, Allah yahfadak. Hajj Anis, 80-something plus years of experience. He's sharing with us a gem. So pay attention to this, guys. He's saying, besides salah, and this is very wise advice. If you can't get into khushu' in salah, By the way, what is khushu'? Khushu' is like concentration, focus, spiritual connection with Allah. So if you can't find it in salah, realize this. Khushu' is a lifestyle. You can find it outside of salah too. If you haven't developed the ability and capacity to taste the sweetness of prostrating and bowing, talk to Allah. Like he said, talk to God. And this is actually the advice I also give to people considering Islam. If you do this sincerely, call upon God sincerely. Oh God, if this is the religion that's pleasing to you, and if this is the truth that you want me to follow, oh God, open my heart to it. We need to do this with everything in our life. I need to talk to Allah. Maybe this will be another type of ibadah that you'll find very sweet. By the way, guys, when we say ibadah and worship, it's not just the conventional worship. You have like the fasting and the prayers and so on, reading Quran. There's non-conventional. At the top of the list, tafakkur, ibadat tafakkur, and the worship of reflection is one of the greatest acts of worship you could possibly do. Calling upon Allah, call upon Him sincerely. And he says, Hajjani said, if you do this very sincerely, you're going to taste how it feels like to call upon Allah, solitude, no one around you, you're just talking to Allah, and you're presenting your situation to Allah. A little different than dua. Dua, you could do it in a very formal, mindless way. We don't want that. When you love Allah, when you believe in Allah, and you're going to talk to Him in a way that's dearer than when you talk to your friend, right? So pour your heart out to Allah. You're going to find a sweetness in your life, and it will absolutely open the doors of khushu' for you in your life. Bidhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakallah khair, Hajj. Allah yakramak. Any other comments, questions? Alaikum salam. May Allah reward you. You want to repeat the question so everyone hears?
Yeah, so the question is, especially for reverts specifically, they might not get the same experience that we get in Ramadan in terms of being around family, especially Muslim families that, alhamdulillah, a lot of us grew up with, and they're not going to get that same experience, right? So how can we, how can you kind of deal with that and still, kind of try and feel the sweetness of Ramadan that we're all, inshallah, experiencing?
Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you. Here's something, sister. I never quite felt Ramadan as spiritually empowering as I did than like when I felt it, when I felt that I had a community that I called family. I'll tell you, my most prized memories of Ramadan are not about the qatayif, are not about food, about dinners, not about like azayim and stuff like that, like dinner invites. That's not what it is. The most precious memories I have in Ramadan are spending nights and days on end around people that, one of them was here with us in the masjid. His name is Shaykh Abu Naeem. I remember, it's a beautiful feeling, beautiful memories. In the room on top of the kitchen in ICPC Patterson, that would become a place where all brothers, they sleep. Shaykh Abu Naeem, Ammu Fikri, everyone here. Now we're doing it in Clifton. Well, I'm doing it in Clifton because I'm here. Ammu Fikri has his own room, and again, it's a different vibe. When you immerse yourself in the masjid community, you'll find something that'll expose you to a different Ramadan experience. This is the most precious Ramadan experience. I'll tell you very sincerely, sister, that there are many people who are bogged down with family connections and obligations and responsibilities that they actually feel the opposite of what you feel. They actually feel that it actually holds them back from being able to do what they want to do, because they have, instead of going to one dinner invitation, they have to go to 10 or 20, and it takes away from the whole Ramadan feel for them, because it becomes about cooking and inviting and about doing, and it's not about the spiritual things. It's about making way too much food for way too little people, right? It becomes a very materialistic, and that's the worst thing. One of the worst things that happens, sister, in Ramadan experiences and culture today, is making this very spiritual enterprise into a very commercial, materialistic enterprise that eats away at the meaning behind the month. You guys see what I'm saying? You understand what I'm talking about? Instead of being less wasteful in Ramadan, more conservative in our output in Ramadan, you find Muslims eat more in Ramadan than they do outside of Ramadan, right? So again, it's not to say that, I know it hurts. And how do I know it hurts? The most challenging Ramadans I had were the ones that I was all alone in Egypt. I know what you feel when you don't have a community and you don't have a family, but inshallah you do have a community. When I was in Egypt and I spent a few Ramadans there, it was extremely challenging. And I remember that the most challenging Eids I had were the ones that were in Egypt. And the reason why they were so challenging was because it was literally that. Salat al-Eid was very early, 7 a.m. And literally the only thing I have to do on the day of Eid is go to the Eid prayers. And then after that, I'd go back home and everyone's gone to their family. It's tough. It's not easy to not have a social support system around you. But what we do here at the masjid, I'm not sure if you're aware, and we did this last year, we're going to do this more this year. We want our revert group to feel empowered. So we're going to do iftars very frequently for the reverts in the masjid. The community as a whole is going to have certain iftars as well. And we need to make Ramadan more about community than more is about family. And really, I need to feel like I'm giving back to others. I would advise, guys, if I have 30 iftars in the month, and they're all, set to be with family and family functions, I would advise you, take out of those days on a weekly basis as much as you can to have iftar with somebody who doesn't have someone to have iftar with. Invite them into your homes, or you go out and have iftar with your fellow brother or sister who embraced Islam. This is a beautiful thing. So may Allah bless you, and just remember that. What makes Ramadan so special? What makes Ramadan special is in here, not out there. It's in here, not out there. So may Allah Azza wa Jal make us of those who enjoy the beautiful spirit of Ramadan. Jazakallah khair for your question. We could take a few more. Does anyone have any comments, questions? Of course, this is the first of many sessions, so we'll take a little bit more and then we'll stop. Anyone have something? Go ahead. Ah. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you and reward you. That's beautiful. We want this. And please, after we finish here, take each other's numbers, connect with each other, and build sister bonds and brother bonds too. Like I said, we all need it. We all need the good people in our lives. So be that good person for someone else. May Allah bless you guys. Anyone else want to say something or ask something? Look, Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feekum. So I'll repeat this one because she mentioned the verse. So there's our sister is asking about a verse in Surah Al-Ahzab, which says, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى, addressing the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying to them, reside in your homes and do not go out as they went out in pre-Islamic times, al-Jahiliyyah al-Ula. وَأَقِمْنَا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَتِينَا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِعْنَا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. So this verse, there's a few things in it. The first thing in it is realizing who is being addressed. A group of people, the wives of the Prophet, who are held to a very high caliber in terms of preserving their dignity and integrity and presentation before others. The second thing is realizing what they had in their house and what we don't have in our house. When the wives of the Prophet ﷺ stayed at home, who did they have with him? Who did they have with them? أفضل معلم وخير معلم أفضل الخلق أجمعين. They had the Prophet ﷺ, who was the best person you could possibly want to stay with, right? Nourishing them, guiding them, fulfilling them. The Prophet ﷺ did that for the people in his home, and he did that for the rest of the ummah too, right? Now the reality that we deal with now, so there's a balance that needs to be drawn. But when we're talking about going to the masjid, the same one who was told these words also said, لا تمنعوا إماء الله مساجد الله. Don't deny our sisters going to the houses of Allah Azza wa Jal. On the other hand, though, there is another extreme where there is disregard of Allah's boundaries, where there's tabarruj and there's the statement of a Sayyidah Aisha where she said, لو علم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما أحدث النساء في المساجد لمنعهن المساجد. Right? There is that reality. We need to balance, of course. However, we say very clearly, in this time, our lifeline to Islam is in the masjid. And you'll find this, if we don't connect people with the masjid, many of them, they'll lose their iman. And this is what we don't want. Because maybe in their homes, they don't have dhikr. They don't have someone to remind them of Allah. They have the opposite instead, someone to push them away from Allah Azza wa Jal. Illa man rahim Allah. Some people have the opposite. If you're someone who's blessed with the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal in your home, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. But many people, they don't have this. They don't have someone to teach them, and they don't have someone to pray with them or remind them of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's why we say, I have to connect with the masjid. Because if I don't, then I'm going to lose my iman. So this is Jazakallah khair hajjah. Allah yakrimak ya Rabbi, barik fiki. But this is how we understand this ayah based on the needs of the time and place. But it needs balance, right? Of course, if I'm someone who's going out, should I go out as a guy or a girl? Should I go out in a way that's displeasing to Allah Azza wa Jal? No, of course not. I should not do that. Yeah. Okay. What time is it? All right. So it's 9:10. I'll let things stir for a little bit, but please, we'll stop here, yani. Please, I'm going to tell myself to do the same thing. Because I'm in the same boat as you guys. Ramadan's 30 days away, and I have a lot to do to prepare for it. So it's my homework, your homework. We got to think like this right now. Right now, every single day, I'm not going to let a day to pass without me thinking, what am I supposed to be doing to change who I am as a person this Ramadan? How am I supposed to make this Ramadan special? How can I start reading a little bit more Quran, giving more charities, doing more acts of goodness? How can I start, removing the darkness? I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you one more time. I'm going to emphasize on the three things. I'm going to tell you, the guys, this month, Sha'ban, make it a month of detox. Sins, especially major ones, I'm going to cleanse them from my system. Conflicts with people, if I have them, I'm going to purge that from my system. I'm going to get it out of your system. Anyone you have a conflict with, whoever it is, family member or not, just seek their forgiveness. Even if they don't deserve it. Even if you think they don't deserve it, they wronged you, they oppressed you, khalas, just do it for Allah. Do it for Allah. That's the second thing. And then the third thing, like I said, part of purging my system is I'm going to start from a place of regret and realizing weakness. I'm going to Allah, as I said to you guys, أَنَا مُقْبِلٌ عَلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ بِذُنُوبِ. The first thing I'm going to do is make myself aware of just how weak and deficient I am so that I could become better. That's when I'm going to start with these three, and then the rest we'll talk about it on other nights, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Akhi Adam. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you and reward you immensely, inshallah. And inshallah, we'll see you guys next week for another Friday forum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.